All right, I'm gonna try that again. Well, this image works fine in practice. Doesn't work now.
Rick, this is Lee Pratt. Zoom sent a message out last week saying that you had to update above Zoom 5 or so, or it would not work.
Yeah, I updated it. Oops. And I had
It's StereoPhoto Maker that's crashing, not Zoom.
I had a couple of, I don't know if it's, well, before I was on Zoom, was also, it was crashing. I use the older version because there's also a vertical scroll, and in the new version, it would crash every time on vertical. So, but it didn't crash on the old version. So let me see if this works. If it gets to the end and comes back, then it's working. Okay. This is version 5.52, which was the highest version until 6.0 came out. So you can take an image. Let me go back to the last one. It's not so exciting because of all, you don't want to really look at the trees that much and a lot of street in front of it. So then
Don't forget to share your screen. We aren't seeing anything.
Oh, it's not? All right.
Oh man, does he need a haircut?
Haircuts are
Me
outlawed. All right, so you didn't see it scroll, huh? All right.
Rick, walk us through the benefit of this function again, please.
Well, the function I used?
Yeah, what is the function and why is, what are we?
It's on the view menu. It's a horizontal auto scroll for panorama. And I on the keyboard is shortcut.
Now, what
vertical.
do you have, when does it come into play? In other words, you're clicking on it and then
if you're zoomed in where part of the picture is off the screens on the side, and of course it works best if you crop the picture and then so there's nothing missing vertically, then that's when it's in use. There's another example where the top half of the picture is really not of interest. And the people look kind of small and everything. So I cropped it.
But does it do this when you're scrolling, when you go into automatic mode, does it automatically scroll back and forth? Or I don't know. I mean, you can manually do this stuff on the screen. I understand that. But is it operative when you're in the slideshow mode at all?
It does not work in the slideshow mode.
I'm in a meeting.
I tried it in slideshow mode. Doesn't work.
Okay.
If you touch anything on the keyboard, then it turns it off. So now by getting rid of the top half of this picture, making everything bigger, and it didn't come back, so it crashed it. I didn't have that much problem with it crashing earlier, but doesn't seem as useful when it keeps crashing.
We'll have to try it on our own machines, maybe because you're in the meeting and trying to use it.
Well, it did crash occasionally when I wasn't in the meeting, but it's crashing a lot now. Oh, I gotta share it again. Gotta go through the whole procedure every time it crashes. Well, I won't go full screen this time. I'll just leave it like this, see what happens. Okay, well, it worked that time. I have very few pictures really that I can crop that much off the top or bottom to get something this wide. But when you have something like this and they're not exciting to look at until you zoom in on where the action is, and then you do this, it does make it nicer. So you can create a folder for just this kind of picture, and when you get one, you throw it in there. This is one I worked on when we were doing the cropping. When I moved the stereo window right up close to the closest tire of this car, and then cropped it to fill the 16:9 screen. Well, I cropped this even wider. I've created a video that I submitted for the NSA convention, the online convention. And it's the Old Car Festival. In this picture, I didn't have it cropped quite this close, but I do have it scrolling in the video like this. Kind of panning from side to side, well, one time. Again, I got extra on the top and bottom. This one doesn't have as much space to scroll in. Looks better at full screen, but I'm not sure if that's what's crashing it because it's working now. We'll see. It didn't crash at that time.
Rick, someone joined late and wanted to know what the feature in StereoPhoto Maker was that you were showing.
That's the horizontal scroll. In the view menu, horizontal auto scroll for panorama. And I've been using I, the keyboard shortcut. Now, Shift I is for vertical, which is what I've got up here now. We'll see if it works without crashing it. The vertical crashed every time on the 6.02 version. Oh, and there's a variable speed as well. doesn't seem to be working on the vertical. Changes directions. The arrows up and down on your keyboard change the speed.
Looks pretty good to me.
I don't know if anybody's ever played around with that feature or not, but I found it a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
Dennis, you want to show some mirror images?
Sure. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep. I see.
Yes.
Right. Okay, I got a half a dozen pictures here. Somebody was asking about mirror images. And so this is a image that I took at the Michigan State Fair of a band that was that my son was in. It was for a Michigan competition that we were doing. And later on, I had seen an image of the Brooklyn Bridge that had been mirrored in the middle, and it looked really interesting. So I tried doing that myself. And okay, I have to zoom it in here. So this is what it ended up with.
Cool.
And I was trying in particularly to get the two trombone slides to come out of the picture and nearly touch. So that was my first experiment with it.
How did you do that? How did you manipulate it that
Well,
way?
this one was done with film. I just took it into Photoshop and just took the image and flipped it and put it on the other side and reversed the left and right, because when you flip it, then left becomes right and right becomes left.
Hmm.
So it's more complex, but then StereoPhoto Maker added the tool, the horizontal and vertical mirror tools. The horizontal tool is activated with Control W, and it's very easy to use. You just slide in a particular direction, and okay. So here's a picture I took, and this is in Ireland, just outside of St. John's Castle. This little somebody had made a mound and made it into a monster, and so I thought that would look pretty good as a mirror image. So this is what I came up with for it. And all you do is you just grab the image at one point and go sideways, and it creates the image, and you can crop it. I saw a very nice version that George did on some buildings in Miami, where instead of having the mirror point in the middle, he cropped it so that it was kind of 2/3 off to the side, and it really looked good because it didn't look like a mirror image, but it was.
Huh.
Okay, here's a image I took up at Mackinac Island of some guys firing their muskets, and it works okay as a single image. But then when I mirrored it, and it's like two troops actually fighting against each other.
Yeah, and the smoke is
Wow.
a Rorschach test.
Right.
Dennis, I'm sorry, I missed where you said in the toolbar at the top where you find the information to do mirroring.
Well, the keyboard shortcut is Control plus W. I'll have to look in the menus to see exactly what menu that's under.
Is
So
it,
I think,
I'm sorry, go ahead. So is it under edit or something like that? Do you remember?
yeah, we'll find it after I show these, after I go through these. Okay, there's an image from the Toledo Zoo. Okay, image of a rhinoceros. And I had done a image a long time ago of my dog. My kids used to like to watch a show called Cat Dog, where the star was half a dog and half a cat with a head on each end. So I did that with my dog, and it worked pretty good in film. But I thought I'd do that with the rhinoceros.
Hmm.
And it not only makes the animal that way, but it also gives you this nice symmetry of the water going around it.
Yeah.
This one was really interesting because I was just playing around and had no idea what I would get when I did this one. This is just the stamen part of a flower, and it doesn't work very well as a single image. But then I instead of just doing a single mirror, I did a horizontal mirror, and then I took that image and did a vertical mirror of the same image. Like I said, horizontal mirror is done with Control W, vertical mirror is done with Alt W. So this is the image that came out of it. You wouldn't even know that came from the same image. It's kind of like the old kaleidoscopes that we used to play with. They make all kinds of interesting designs, but this does it in 3D.
Very nice.
So here's a through the window image of a stamen of flowers. And I just did a horizontal mirror of this one. Now, one of the things you have to watch out for when you're doing it is that when you do the mirror, you have to take the part that's in the middle that you're actually going to start mirroring from, and that has to be at the window when you actually do it. Otherwise, you're going to get at that seam line, you're going to get part of the image from the left and a different part from the right because it's not at the window, so it's not the same point.
But then
But it's very, go
these
ahead.
are in front of the window.
What's that?
These are in front of the window.
Yes, but the seam line isn't the thing that's the actual spot that's being mirrored, because the stamens are a little bit to the left of the original image.
I see the seam line now. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so
I get it. Okay.
that's it. So see, now I can. Oh boy. Well, I'll just go into any, oh no, these are, yeah. I'll go into any image here. Well, this one almost looks like a mirror, so try something different. Okay, so here's one from Derek from Greenfield Village. And if I do a Control W on it, I'll just put it in the middle of his hat. and go sideways. It doesn't matter if you go up or down or anything, as long as you go in the direction that you want to mirror. So this is the image that you'll get. Now you'll see the background is going to be off because this tree and is the same as this tree, but you're getting a different portion of it.
Wow.
But it mirrored right at the person's head, which was probably at the window. So you play around with that kind of stuff, and you learn what things have to be put on the side or in the middle.
Could you go back to the original? Okay. So
Okay,
you chose the side without the horse. You chose the right side.
right. You want the horse.
I thought you were, okay. No,
Okay,
I don't want the horse. No, I was wondering because I didn't see the horse in the final one. I didn't,
that's because I went this way from the hat.
I see. Okay, I see you went that way. What if you, okay.
Okay, so now if I go from the hat again and go this way,
Oh,
so now it gives
Oh.
us
cool.
two
Okay.
horses and a very unusually shaped hat.
Oh, very good.
So not every image will actually work with this then.
Right, okay, no, so now if we put this in anaglyph and find us. And move it so that the background is,
It looks good.
I shouldn't have done cancel. Okay, now I do my Control W on the buildings in the back. Now you see the seam line here is not as bad in the back. You don't have part of a tree on one side and part on the other. And you can cure some of the ones up in the front just by using the clone tool. You clone a little bit of the right side from the left and a little bit of the left side from the right, and you get rid of it. So anyway, just something to inspire you to try playing around with that. Oh yeah, let's see if we can find where that. Here it is. It's under Rotate Flip Image under the Edit menu. And if you go down here to Horizontal Mirror Effect or Vertical Mirror Effect, and here are your shortcuts. And you can always save any of your images with a different name, and it doesn't hurt your original image. So you can play around with it and just have fun. You might come up with something that looks really neat.
Thank you, Dennis.
Sure.
And you have to redo your title because you flip that over too.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't do that. I'd crop that out.
Or just do your mirror first and then title it later. Thank you, Dennis. I got one more thing to show on, I was going to show this last week. The horizon, the upper right-hand corner is off. Let me first do the auto align. Take a few seconds. Now, if there's anywhere in an image you can tell it's tilted a little bit, it's at the horizon where it meets the water. That always has to be level. Where the water meets the shoreline, it kind of depends on the contour of the shoreline and how far away, if it's going away from you or getting closer to you, that may not be a level shoreline. But where it meets the sky, it's always going to be level. And if it's not, it kind of stands out and somebody's going to say, yeah, that picture's crooked. So in the easy adjustment, and you can make that full screen, you can rotate it. First thing I'm going to do is show the grid, and it's set for 10 sections. I'm going to get a line up kind of close to the horizon up there. And you have the ability in StereoPhoto Maker to rotate just the left or just the right.
Oh.
There's a checkbox up here that says link both rotations together. Normally, that's what you're going to want to do.
Cool.
So now I've got it rotated parallel to one of the grid lines.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, you're going to lose part of your pictures on all four corners, but it's set to automatically crop.
Cool.
And pretty much that simple.
How did it go to black? It goes to black and white to do this? Or
Well,
what is
it's black and white, and there's an icon next to auto alignment, and by default that's where it was. I didn't change that. It's called easy adjustment. It's different than the anaglyph. And yes, it is in black and white here. And if you've got too many colors in a picture and really a lot of detail, like just flowers all across the bottom, you're trying to figure out where the stereo window is. This is often better than going to anaglyph. You get rid of all the colors except the red and cyan, and then everything else is shades of gray. And it might make it easier to see where the window is.
Yeah. It's a nice black and white.
So this, yeah, when the water meets the horizon, needs to be level. Otherwise, it just kind of stands out as, you had the camera crooked.
Looks much better.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Could you show again the process for the alignment? I know where you're going, but I didn't see how you did it.
Okay. Well, first I hit the auto align to get it close and get the horizon kind of together. Let me actually, let me back out of these pictures and bring them in again. So now the horizon's crooked. So first you do the standard auto alignment. This will be quicker this time because it already remembers it. Okay, there's an easy adjustment button next to the auto alignment. See that, Bob?
Yes.
Okay.
Which you just hit K on your keyboard and it takes you right to it.
I think Dennis knows more keyboard shortcuts than anybody. I don't use it that often, so I haven't memorized that one. And when it's small, it's just kind of difficult to work in. So you maximize the window. Here on the left side, if there's no grid, you have to check that box. And that just helps you see where level is. I also checked the box that says link both rotations together. There's no sense doing them one at a time. I have to do it twice. They're already aligned. I want to rotate them both. And it's not going to come out right on the line, but you get to where it looks parallel to that line. And when you say okay, it's going to crop the edges. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Rick, I missed where you chose the axis to rotate from. How did you choose the left
It
side?
rotates, I guess, from the center because it rotates everything. You don't choose it. It's just default.
Oh, it rotates from the center. I thought you said you could choose this. You could choose one side at a time.
Oh, you can rotate one side at a time, but it's still going to rotate from the center.
No, it can't. It would rotate from the side.
All right, I'm going to uncheck the box that says rotate together.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm rotating one, but not the other, which isn't going to help me for what I'm trying to do here. It must be rotating from the center, Rich, because you get the missing data on all four corners.
Oh, right. No, right. I just misheard you. I thought you said you could rotate from the side. Okay. It would make
You
sense.
can rotate one at a time or rotate both together.
Why would you want to rotate one at a time?
I don't know. I never do.
Well, you can manually do that if you had one of your cameras was rotated and you wanted to align them manually instead of letting StereoPhoto Maker do the alignment for you.
Hmm.
Yeah, cha-chas, a lot of times one will be different than the other, and you don't like what StereoPhoto Maker, or you want more control over it.
Hmm. Okay.
See, now I don't have, they're not going to be straight now. Oh, I didn't say okay. I just closed it, so it's still good. Any questions about a rotation? Okay.
By the way, that rotation was the thing that kicked off my doing those SPM quick tips in the newsletter all the time. Al had written to me and asked me how to do a rotation. He said he knew how to do it, but he forgot what screen you use to do that. So I sent it back to him, and then I put that in the newsletter, and for 3 years I did a different StereoPhoto Maker tip every month.
So you should be teaching this class, Dennis.
So if you opened one of the images in Photoshop and you drew a line that was along the horizon, you could measure the angle. So are you able to input fractional or decimal angles like 4.3 degrees if that was the required rotation?
It has, yeah, it was decimal angles. I was just clicking it and visually lining it up because I didn't know what the angle was going to be. But yes, it'll do decimals, tenth of a degree. Due to how busy I was this week, I didn't prepare a whole lot of things. People were showing their viewers last week.
Mhm.
And you got two front-facing mirrors on each side in this viewer. And this is my viewer of choice for side-by-side on a computer monitor. I see Lee's got one that looks like this one.
Yes, that's right. It's Unity game, so you can use any size.
The one I use is a larger mirrors. And you have to get your distance to the screen so that the image fits in the mirror. So if you have smaller mirrors, you just have to back away from the screen more. So the larger mirrors definitely help a lot. And
I prefer this little one-eyed stereoscope. It allows you to view large images with no problem. I prefer it to viewing with my two-eyed viewer.
this is another similar one. The first one I had a strap, but I never put it on. And all three of the ones I have here have a dial on top which rotates the mirrors. So if you have small images close together, you can rotate them and see it. Images are farther apart on a big monitor or a television set. You can rotate it so that you can see them better.
Oh, I was wondering.
It's a lot better than free viewing when you're working on pictures and you're aligning them, or if you're just viewing them and enjoying them. Large is better.
Okay.
This is the screen viewer, and it does its alignment by with a lever on the side that moves one of the mirrors back and forth. Similar concept.
Oh yeah, I do have another one here. The first one I had and I used for a few years. This was a kit. All of these pieces were laser cut. You had to glue them all together. It's got a part on the inside, cardboard, trying to hold all the mirrors in the slots and try to, get it glued and everything. And this costs more than the other viewers I have, and I had to do all that work, had to put a finish on it too, otherwise it was just plain wood. But this is in a portrait mode.
Oh, yeah.
So you didn't get as large a picture when you had a landscape picture. You had to back away from the monitor a little bit more. Dennis Hanser, you need to get one of these, probably one like this.
Yeah, what's the name on that one?
Let me see. It's Chinese, so.
Where do I? Who sells it, Rick?
I bought one from Steve Berezin a few years ago, but
That one?
a few more I got recently. There was a guy, I don't remember his name. I have it on my in my email. I believe he's in Sweden, and he had a quantity of them.
Dennis, this is a Berezin one from Mike Berezin. It's got
That's
an adjustment for TV, PC up on top. It's got a slide switch, so you could do that. It's got adjustments to move it in and out. It's not bad. I've been able to get it to work on stuff on the PC.
nothing beats a good 3D TV set, but when you're doing alignment and you're working on your images, you know, TV is for when it's done. So
Yeah.
Rick, this is from Steve Bearson, but sometimes a fellow from China sells them on eBay.
mhm. It couldn't be a really high quantity selling item. So I always worry that they're just going to disappear.
That's why you got them all, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking of even ordering more from them before they're gone. Anybody who waited too long for 3D TV, they'll never get
Yeah,
one.
like me.
Maybe we should do a group order of some kind of a viewer.
We need to find out who's all interested.
We could use one here.
Okay, that's one. I
I
would
would
say
like one. I want the,
this
Send
is
it-
the best one.
Just send a note to Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just email me.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
be
do an
interested
email,
too, so
yeah.
I'll send you an email.
When I ordered 5 at a time with shipping, it ended up $32 a piece, which I thought was quite reasonable because I paid more than that at convention with no shipping. So maybe it's a good time to get him if he still has them. Well, he's dependent on getting them from China. So, you know, with this whole coronavirus thing, everywhere in the world, production stopped at some point. So hard to say how available anything is anymore.
Hey, Rick,
Yes.
I use the strap.
Okay.
It allows me to use both hands on the keyboard.
Well, I need my glasses with mine, which
I
work
got
fine
my-
if I'm holding it, but they
I got
don't.
my glasses on too.
Oh, you got yours on?
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
what happens when you walk around outside with that on?
Double vision.
Probably trip over a lot of things. I haven't tried it yet though, Dennis.
Hey, tow it in, man. You know, tow it in so they line up. It's going to give you a wider vision is what it's going to do. Deeper Z-axis in reality.
Will that give me ideas on what's going to make a good stereo shot?
Maybe. For hyper.
All right, I didn't have any more things prepared for StereoPhoto Maker for this week due to how busy I have been. Next week we have a meeting. We don't have StereoPhoto Maker session. We have our June meeting.
All right.
That'll still be at 7.
Yes.
Same link.
See you guys next week then. Take care. Stay
Wait,
safe.
wait, wait, wait,
We
wait,
have
wait.
an announcement.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Before you guys go, I just have a quick question. Right now we're working on trying to get a virtual NSA convention together in August. If we did a registration, so you get a registration packet, we don't even know if we're going to be able to get these items yet. So if we're going to do this, but would you be willing to pay $20 for the cardboard glasses, a reel, and maybe a couple of other items in the packet? Would you be willing to do that in order to support the organization, support the convention, and get a registration packet?
Sure.
Okay, all right, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
I have a question for Rick.
Yeah, John.
So this is great. I really appreciate you doing this. What were the other topics that you covered under SPM? Just to have an idea what people were interested in hearing or what you explored on your own.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I started with the real beginner stuff with just how to bring a left and right image in, how to use the most important thing in there was the auto alignment, how to see where the stereo window is, how to save it. And then we got into cropping, last week, and
Okay.
how important that is to, if you have a lot of foreground that you really don't need and everything of interest is kind of far away from the window, you can cut out that foreground, readjust your window, and make your picture far more interesting.
Hey, John, that first meeting is on YouTube. We have a link to it from our club website. If you go to our, Detroit3D.org and go to the links page, it's in there, and you can see everything that Rick did.
Fantastic. Thank you.
We're planning on putting the second session up too when Rick gets a chance to upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, that cloning stuff was fascinating to see.
Oh yeah, we did that last week too with the clone tool.
Yeah, they could do simple cloning and then get more complex images. So, alrighty.
I got a question. Is the George Themilis presentation available? Did somebody record that?
I have it recorded. I thought I sent that to you.
Oh boy. All right. I don't think I could open it. I'll get back with you on that. Sorry.
The Ohio Club may have that online. I don't know. I'm sure they recorded it.
Okay.
Anybody know? John Ribberich, Barb, Paul, anybody
I can
know?
check with Bill. I know that we asked him to record at some points, but I don't know what he was, diligent at doing. In the future, we're definitely looking at, in the past, these we were just kind of finding what to do with the meetings, and certainly now, since it's not, we don't need to have everybody in attendance, and it's useful, just like your stuff right here is useful for everybody. We definitely would like to have everything available as an archive. And I mentioned it before when the officers met, that we should have more of what we have, even just the older presentations, and those type of things. If we can get more of that available, maybe that some of that will be based on membership only, but definitely a lot of it should be more accessible to just get awareness out there. I know we're going to be doing some things over the summer that are more informal, not official meetings. And that's why I wanted to see what was going on here to be able to do, certainly StereoPhoto Maker was one of the topics that we were looking at doing. We're also thinking about just doing a show and tell in StereoPhoto Maker, kind of like what you guys did tonight. So let the different creators show their techniques, and basically, I think there's a lot of things that aren't being covered in New York and LA and here that definitely open to any suggestions. If there's something that you're seeing missing, definitely we'd like to, serve that need too.
And we're still trying to figure out how all this works. StereoPhoto Maker has got so much to it. There's a lot of things I've never used, or the floating windows. If anybody's got experience at the floating windows, I'd like to see that. There's a lot of things in it I have not used, and I'd like to learn those things. I didn't really intend to be the instructor every week. I wanted to get it started, and Dennis helped out tonight. It was good. But I'm sure that other people have used tools in it that I'm not familiar with, and anybody wants to volunteer to show any particular.
You guys have used it more than so many of us have, and all of this is really, really helpful. So I appreciate all the information you're giving.
Well, certain things I've used thousands of times, but many things I haven't used. Oh, John, one of the other things we went through was setting the preferences and customizing the toolbar. And the help files online, I went through that a little bit. That's tremendously helpful. A lot of people have used StereoPhoto Maker, have never gone to those help files. They're a little bit outdated now because there are some menu items that are not shown in there. But if you click on the help and then where it says web, go to that page, and go down the page. I think it's the second one from the bottom where it says menus, and there's a drop down menu from that. And it's got file, edit, view, all those things in the menu, and you click on those, and then all the things that's in those menus pop open. And there's explanations, there's just some pictures. But like I said, not everything is in there. I don't know when the last time it was updated.
Yeah, I think it's been a couple years since, because that HTML file that was originally in there was maybe like version 4 even. And then of course he's been updating so recently he's been going through so many updates, introduces some new bugs, for sure. But it's great to see him, throwing in a lot of new things that he wasn't able to do when he had a full-time job, and I've been playing around with just some visual effects software and seeing what I can kind of learn from that to maybe put into even conversions and corrections and stuff like that. Jim McManus had a great New York presentation where he went over, he refined his presentation that he did at NSA last year. And it was a great kind of introduction to the concepts. And so I've been looking to see if there's anything outside of StereoPhoto Maker that could be used. Some of the software I have is several $100s, and it has some stereoscopic stuff on it, but the really good stuff is thousands of dollars, and I've been looking. There's a couple older versions. Some of the stuff's Mac, some of the stuff's PC, and I've been trying to see if any of those developers that have kind of abandoned that software would be willing to just make a version available with no support, like that, because there's some things you can do in there that would be handy, that StereoPhoto Maker doesn't necessarily do, and it gives you a lot of little Lego pieces that you can build together to be able to, if you understand what's going on, you can do some powerful things correction-wise. But I don't fully understand that yet. That's what I'm working on right now, is trying to come up with something that's more usable for the audience that we have usually. And SPM's great. There's so many things it does, and then there's a couple gaps that that trying to go to Photoshop or trying to go to some of the other image editing things that are out there is, that's a whole nother topic that you kind of just have to chunk it down in the small bite size pieces.
Right.
Beautiful green screen too.
Oh, yeah, if we switch over there.
All right.
So yeah, it's not too bad.
That is a beauty.
The online NSA convention this year is going to be the same week. It's shortened to 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm the workshop coordinator. The workshops are going to be 30 minutes, including questions and answers. So I've revised the workshop submittal form. I sent it to Phyllis, and I haven't heard anything. It's not up on the website yet. I don't know if it's final. You're going to tell me whether you're going to make any other changes to it. So anybody wants to do a workshop, you can do it right from the comfort of your own home. Or you can even practice it in front of a camera and send it in recording. That way you like it, and it's going to go smooth, and it should work out well too. Then just answer some questions at the end.
So Rick, you're saying record it ahead of time and then answer questions at the end?
That's a possibility. Some people may want to do it live, but if you're not really experienced at workshops and you want to do something, and time comes and you get a little nervous, and if you have it recorded, you know exactly how it's going to go.
Steve Hughes used to record all of the actions for his workshops, and they would be performed on the screen, and all he had to do was talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to do it.
Well, Steve Hughes is an old pro, and he's done it a long time, and he's very, very good. So I contacted a lot of people who had done a workshop over the last couple of conventions, and I had about 10 people saying, yeah, I'll do one, maybe two, you know, a couple people said. And then we had to wait a long time to see if it was going to be canceled. And we waited a while to see how an online thing was going to be structured. And we're getting there. But I don't want to wait too long before I contact people, tell them you got 30 minutes, what would you like to do? They may have to change what they were going to do in 50 minutes. I don't know if they could shorten the same thing or do something different, but a few people said they had 2 or 3 topics in mind. John Hart was one of them. Jim McManus had several things. Jim Harp was going to do virtual reality. He wanted to do that more as, you know, they had to be a live convention. He wanted to do that more as a room hopping thing where people can just come in the room and see all the VR hardware he had. And I saw some of that last year. It was quite good. But you can't really do VR in this now when doing it online. Oh, there's one thing in Zoom I have not tried, and I can't do it when I'm, you know, log in myself. There has to be people. There's a thing called breakout rooms. And you got automatically and manually. What the breakout rooms are is if we have a meeting like this, say we got a 10-minute break and 2 or 3 people want to talk to each other about some specific topic, you can put them in a separate room where this way, basically one person at a time can talk.
Can't you just go into it, Rick? I think if you go automatically, just divides us all up into different rooms.
Well, if you put it on automatic, yeah.
Just go ahead and try it, and then put it, and then call the people back in 5 minutes.
Okay. See, now, without people on this currently, I would not have this list of names. But now I can see, okay, I click on the assign button, and okay, Al and Barb and Lindell. Put you in a room.
Yeah, if you do the auto assign, it just chunks us up by, you know, 4 groups of 5 or whatever. 4 groups of 4.
See what happens here. Let me see. I share the screen here if I can do that. Maybe you can see what I'm doing.
I have a message saying the host is inviting you to join breakout room 2.
Okay. So you would have to then accept it, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me. This is what I'm getting here for the breakout rooms. So you got 2 accepted here, 2 accepted here. See, I had no idea how to go about this if there's nobody on the meeting, and I'd never tried it before, but I think it's something we could probably use at times. So I assume what this is for is you can talk to each other within that room with the rest of us not hearing it. Is that correct? I see they're not, the ones in the breakout rooms are not here now. So apparently they have a similar setup, just 3 in each of those 2 rooms. See, when we go to meetings and we have a break, we mingle around, talk to all kinds of people, which we can't really do here. And if you have a lot of people, like New York meetings gets over 70 people, most people are muted and they don't talk to each other. So this would be nice to know how it works and be able to set this up for when we have a break. All right, I'm gonna click on close all rooms. Everybody's gonna say, hey, what happened? Gonna close, oh, it's gonna count down a minute here.
All right, so we were in the breakout room. It works.
Okay.
Barb's probably coming back now too.
Yep, I'm here.
Did you plot against us?
We did. We did. The bombs will drop in about an hour.
So,
Thank you. Thank you.
fortunately, I'm in Cleveland, so I'm not going to get hit by the bombs.
Well, you never know.
Fortunately, you're in Cleveland, huh?
Yep, I'm in Cleveland right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
good luck.
learned one more thing
Fortunately.
about Zoom that I had never done before, so that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know how many rooms you could make, but now that I have a paid version, these meetings can go up to 24 hours. So you can do all kinds of things now.
How much did that cost, Rick?
$15 for a month.
Oh, okay.
It's not bad.
Welcome back, guys.
Hi. I have an announcement when you are ready, Rick.
Okay, go ahead, Lee.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you for letting me come and sit in on this club. I really enjoyed it. Would like to do it again, if that's okay with everyone.
Sure, sure.
First,
It's the same way.
also, I may have given Dennis Green different times earlier, but we are planning to have a sequence again this year. And in fact, we're talking about having the sequence entries due next month, July 15th, about 5 weeks from now, and with judging on July 18th. That may be different than the dates that I had given Dennis Green earlier. By the way,
Yeah.
Dennis,
Yeah, we had the closing as being in June.
Okay, everything gets put off. There is no PSA conference this year, but we will have those. Also, anyone contact me if you would like to have copies of earlier versions of the PSA sequences for about 9 or 10 years. I can set them up. They are very big files. I don't know if they could ever be shown on something like this, but they're very big. Last year's program has been shown at Ohio. Did the Detroit people get to see it too while you were meeting?
Yes,
Okay, good,
yes.
good. Like, contact me if you want copies of older ones. What I
Okay.
will do is put them in Dropbox. They will be very, very big.
So you got a limited number you can put in the Dropbox at once?
Well, I think I have, I pay for Dropbox so I can put a lot, but I will set one subfolder for each year. Right now, I already have last year's 2019, and I can have it sent to you in just a few minutes because it's already up in the cloud somewhere.
All right. Yeah, I don't know when we're ever going to be able to have physical meetings again. I'm thinking 2020 is out for the whole year. I think we're going to see a revival of that virus in the fall when everybody's closed up indoors. And from what I'm seeing on TV is a lot of people who don't believe in the social distancing, all these protesters out there. The only reason some of them have a mask on is because they're looting and they don't want to be identified.
Right.
Most of them don't have that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
unfortunate.
You know what? We'll meet again as soon as we all can, because I'm sure all of us are anxious to be back there. But until then, this is a great way to do this.
This is great.
Look at the positive side. We can get together.
Yes, that's right. And, and we can all be there in whatever way we can. And we can get out with our cameras and start shooting.
Right.
Well, this has been great for StereoPhoto Maker training and learning, things like that, because we're lucky if we get one program a year where we can dedicate to that. We can do this every week. You could do it every day if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, I think we could continue doing this for StereoPhoto Maker even after we get into meetings.
I agree. I'll tell you what, like I said, there's so much I don't know about StereoPhoto Maker, and these have been really helpful. Even though I missed the last one, I still appreciate what you're doing.
Yes. Dennis Green, you talked about an idea of doing Zoom broadcast, even if we get back to physical meetings, for those that don't make it to meetings. Like David Goings is permanently moving to Florida, so he's not going to be able to attend meetings unless he's up visiting family or something like that. I don't know how possible that is. Somebody's going to have a camera. Somebody's going to have to be working that camera, because if you just set it off in a corner of the room with a wide view, you're not going to see very much. I don't know how well you're going to hear. Well, you might hear with the microphone for the announcements, but
Rick?
I don't know how it would work.
Rick, the Ohio Club officers got together a couple of weeks ago for a special meeting to talk about this, because we know that several people have wanted to, now said they were interested in being able to participate in the meetings each month. And we had a separate meeting about it. And then we even had another part of it the other night last night at our regular meeting. And Ribs is a whole lot more technical than I am, but we talked about all those things, do we stream it? Do we actually have a Zoom meeting? Do we record it and put it online? How do you do the competitions online while you're doing the Zoom? And Ribs probably can give you a whole lot more information about what he's thought about it, but we talked about it for a long time, and I'm not sure it's going to be available. Otherwise, you have somebody sitting there watching the Zoom meeting, letting people in and out, or you tell them they have to be in by 10 minutes after 7 or whatever. And then where's the camera? Who's going to take care of the camera and that kind of stuff? So Ribs, I don't know if you want to say anything about it.
Yeah, my opinion was that it's two different audiences. The in-person audience and the internet audience are two different things, and it is a lot of logistics that have to be handled. We were talking about where we're talking about meeting is even there, just the bandwidth might not be available. And then if you actually are trying to do it to provide something that's valuable for people who are actually watching it, online, the only possibility is maybe a live stream, maybe just having a camera up, maybe recording it and putting that up as a stream or a live stream. That's a possibility. I suggested maybe even having a second meeting a week or 2 weeks after that, kind of has competition results in a summary, and some that could have the workshop, whatever our presentation is, or even tailor it straight to what the online audience is. I think that's also going to depend on how many other clubs are doing things. If everybody's still doing something online, that fills a big void. We didn't have anybody doing that last year, like that. We've been for many years have been looking at trying to get more videos just up on YouTube or something like that to get people introduced into the subject and learn more. So I think we'll have to see what other clubs are doing. I'm of the opinion that it requires basically 3 dedicated people, somebody to be watching the chat room if you're actually having any interactivity, somebody who is manually making sure that the audio and video is acceptable for the video, and then you need kind of somebody on the other end that's, if you're doing anything live, somebody has to be monitoring on the live side, knowing that the stream's actually up and running, letting you know when there's a problem, like that. And that's like bare minimum, so that's my opinion. There might be ways of doing it. It'd be great to hear if you come up with, a better solution than what I have thought through. But that's where I think we're kind of at. I think you're right that everything coming up the rest of the year is definitely, in jeopardy of not having in-person meetings. We'll see in the next couple of weeks what this week has done, if there's a resurgence or anything like that. But big thing is to be safe, and I've been to the Detroit meeting, I've been to the LA's meetings, I've been to New York. I've never attended to any of those in person. Like I always wanted to, so this is great that I'm able to do that. I'm able to see the people that I've met at NSA, like Lee, and it's while we're all kind of trapped in this kind of environment, it's great to be able to take advantage of what this platform works well at doing. StereoPhoto Maker is a perfect example of that. That's something that's hard to do in a meeting. Even one of the suggestions I had was, if you can get your members or at least some of the people to screen share and be able to bring someone up, you could walk them through. And sometimes that demonstration isn't, actually have an interactive workshop, not just, a presentation. Something that's very valuable outside of the 3D stuff we've had. And I think some of the groups do a little bit, like New York does it after their meeting, is just having the discussion we're having now. Just more informal, talking about the stuff that we would normally talk about outside of the main presentations, like that. And I hope NSA is able to do something along those lines as well to facilitate that mingling and that, those conversations. That I'm interested in the breakout rooms, even, if there's something that can be done along those lines, just so that those questions that we all have that are kind of one-on-one things can be done. But yeah, it's going to be, it's a tough task to do both live and,
Hey,
an online
John, if you
Yeah,
consider
Lee.
doing it like the churches are doing down here, everyone that is meeting together goes up to the platform and talks. There's one camera on them. You're not switching from you to Barb to Paul to anyone else. And then you stream that. Everyone that is not there sees it like this.
Yeah.
But everyone in one location goes up to the platform to talk.
Yeah, and I'm not involved with any of the NSA stuff, but I'm part of a group that is a bunch of streamers that are investigating all this. They meet every day for a couple hours a day, like that. And how they do it is they use Zoom, but they do it as a webinar, like that. And what that allows them to do is they're able to bring in panelists that have basically what we're doing now. They can be given host capabilities. They can go ahead and comment in and out. There's a protocol that's kind of worked out beforehand. That's one of the important things of this, is just letting everybody know how we're going to operate. It's a nice little quick announcement at the beginning, and doing that. And then what they do for the more public stuff is they take that Zoom feed and broadcast it out to YouTube, and it's on YouTube just as a stream, like that. And there's a separate chat over there, like that. And that's, it's a very functional and a very conversational piece for amongst the panelists, like that. And for the majority of people who just want the information and don't have to dedicate to it, they can do that as well. But that's an expense in Zoom too. That's not under the normal monthly expense, like that. So that would be a convention expense for sure.
I don't know anything about a webinar in Zoom. That would be a whole new thing for me to learn. Trying to broadcast a live meeting through Zoom, my biggest concern is, what about projection? That's the best thing in the meeting, is seeing that stereo projection. How are you going to do that? I don't know.
We talked about that too, and it was very difficult for us because we couldn't come up with a good way of doing it. Either we'd have to do every club competition in advance, like we did for the April and May meetings. You had to have your images in by a certain date, maybe Sunday, and then we have the competition on Monday. Put all the images on a gallery, and then people could look at them on the gallery, or they would be put up on the screen in anaglyph. And that's one option, that we just show them during the meeting what the results were, not actually have the competition during the meeting. So that was one thought.
Well, beyond the competition, a lot of what I show at meetings is in video format. We haven't had success in showing video through Zoom, although I don't have the fastest connection, and that's probably got a lot to do with it. I've only got like 30 megabytes or a second download and like 5 upload. If you do it at a meeting, you're also doing it instead of a Ethernet connection, you're doing Wi-Fi, and that's even slower. So
yeah, that was something that Ribs mentioned earlier, was wherever you're having your meeting, you have to make sure that you have enough bandwidth to be able to stream or have interaction or something like that. That's the other thing you have to consider. So,
well, we don't have control over that.
No.
Unless we fork over a lot of money for one night a week, one night a month, you know, and that's not going to work.
Yeah, Rick. And even if you try to delay it and say, hey, the online thing is, you could have a gallery and you could edit stuff in. Nobody wants to spend time, you know, trying to edit and piece things together, you know, to provide, you know, that non-live event, you know. And so you got to make sure that it's something that doesn't eat people's time up. You're right about the Wi-Fi and everything like that. That's the first thing we tell anybody that's on a remote: get off of Wi-Fi and plug into an Ethernet, because even the best routers out there have these little micro ticks that happen because they're trying to devote the best bandwidth in your house. You can manage them as the best that you want, but if you're dealing with somebody that's going to broadcast or any things you see on TV right now, you know, like that, and they're all coming through the internet with, you know, a lot of them have limited Wi-Fi. And when I say limited, I'm talking 10 up, 1 down, or, you know, or 1 up, 1 up, you know, it's basically 100 megabit per second and, you know, like 10, you know, maybe upload, you know, so 100 down, 10 up is pretty good, you know, but even that is not good enough to not have issues, you know, like that. And that's when you're using Ethernet. When you're using Wi-Fi, all these other little, you know, weird things happen, and they mysteriously go away when you can get people off of it. You know? But in a meeting, you don't have that choice. So yeah, I would say, you know, great if some Lee's ideas is a nice system. I had mentioned for not having interactivity, it doesn't have to be a Zoom meeting. It's a live stream, you know. And then does it really need to be a live stream, or should that be something that is introduced, you know, again, a week or two later, where you already have the competition done, you've already done the workshop, you know, like that. You know, George, when he does his stuff, it's already in stereo, you know, like that. You could go ahead and create a YouTube feed like Eric does in LA, and do a side-by-side and a anaglyph mode, you know, like that. And, you know, if you have a TV, you can enjoy those. Those are great, you know, when it's working, you know, like that. But all of those things are, you know, there's a lot of effort into getting those ideas done. I think you kind of have to take it in little pieces and say, hey, let's try this, experiment with this, see what it was. Let people be forgiving that it might not go completely smoothly, you know, like that. The convention's another issue because, you know, they have a little more pressure on them because people have expectations of a convention. What we're doing right now, we can play around, you know. It's, you know, I'd say use this time, and, you know, if you come up with something that might work, you know, try to experiment with it now before meetings start, you know. I mean, like you said, you might have till the end of the year to work out these things.
I think we will. Well, we meet at the senior center. That's where we rent space from, and that's going to be one of the last places that reopens.
Yeah.
So,
May I make a comment? May I speak? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Sorry. I'm in central New York. There's no club nearby. There was one in Rochester, the Genesee Valley Stereo Club, but they're defunct now. And the closest probably down in New York City. I'll never get to one of their meetings. So I really appreciate the opportunity to join your meeting in New York's meeting in LA, and also the Golden Gate Club. So the comment I was going to make is that, you know, some of the meetings that I've seen have been just the clubs going through their competition images. And it's interesting. There's some great images out there. There's feedback from the judges, so you can learn what some people think makes good images if you want to improve yours. It's a good thing. But I think probably more of the interest might be in some of the presentations, the tutorials, like the New York Club had, I think the president from American Paper Optics give a presentation a little bit about his company, right? So these might be the things that might have a broader range of interests across all the clubs in the country, or even outside the country. So my suggestion was going to be that maybe you have, each club has a couple additional meetings in a year that were not part of your regular schedule meeting, and you save for those types of subjects. And maybe one that you've already covered in a previous meeting, but not everyone makes every meeting, right? They might have really wanted to be there, snowing that night, they couldn't get there, they were ill, whatever, and here's a chance for them to have, you know, to hear that presentation that they missed. So I don't know how many clubs there are across the country, but if each club did a couple extra presentations, and those presentations were kind of spaced out, the Golden Gate Club has a calendar now. You could probably have one online meeting every month for the year. So that's just my 2 cents worth for whatever it's worth.
Well, next week is our June meeting for the Detroit Stereographic Society. It's our final meeting for the season. We pick up again in September. Although I'm sure we'll be doing something throughout the summer. I don't know if it's going to be every week or not, but we'll do more StereoPhoto Maker. And I hope to get more people involved, showing parts of it that they use a lot. Maybe the rest of us don't use as much. I'm willing to learn too. I mean, you're going to get limited amount of information if I just show you what I know. So.
In the chat session, I made a couple comments. I don't know if they were seen. I'm interested in learning more about multi-conversion. It's not something I've used before. I understand it's a very powerful tool. And then I've seen on the 3D photo forum about other software, Cosima. I don't own it, I never used it. And stereo masking, which seems like it could be very helpful for rescuing some images that would have window violations or other problems, letting you create some mask of arbitrary shape to mask out certain areas. I don't know if those are tools that any of you are using or not.
I haven't used any masking tools or anything.
What about the
auto
multi-process?
That's something good to touch on.
I think the stereo masking software is free.
Yeah, I commented in the chat that I'll look into those things. You know, I have a couple topics already that I'm kind of deep diving into, but yeah, I'll look into those again. And appreciate your comments. Definitely, that was one of the discussions I had early on when Ohio met, was that we should, you know, cater to the audience and what they're looking for, you know, for the online side of things. And, you know, people that come to our in-person meetings come to see the projection. They come to see, you know, that interaction that happens there, but the people that are visiting over the internet are going to have different interests. So it's good to hear that what your specifics, you know, are.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, do you think you could cover batch processing or batch conversion, whatever it's called?
Yeah, we'll do another one of these in 2 weeks. Our meeting's next week, but I can do that. I've used that a little bit.
I have one other comment I wanted to make, if I may, that I forgot, and that is this type of meeting is something that is general nature to a younger group of people, right? We're all using it and we have some level of expertise with it, but most of the clubs are suffering from a problem of declining membership with a largely elderly population of members.
That's very
And
true.
if, there's a need to get younger people interested and involved, and this might be one way of getting out there in front of them, because it's the kind of tool that they're using. This is the way they're getting information. So.
Does anybody visit websites that young people are using where they're putting up 3D pictures? I mean, we know about the Ferio website, and then there's a newer one. I don't remember the name of it. That's just getting going.
StereoPics.
What's that?
StereoPics.
Yes. Yes.
How do you spell it?
I'll put it in the, yeah, it's, Bob's putting it in the chat now.
But the websites that are just for all kinds of pictures, which I understand are getting stereo pictures on, but I'm not a member of. So I'm not reaching anybody there.
Facebook has got a 3D app, and my kids use it all the time, and it actually is really pretty good. I've been kind of surprised at some of the pictures they take with their phone, and when you tip your head side to side, you actually see the 3D, and it's part of Facebook, one of the apps on Facebook.
Well, most of the people in our club don't even use Facebook.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the stereoscopic 3D that we shoot, though. I have seen it. You leaving, Barb?
Yeah, I'd like to leave too. Okay.
No,
Right.
Doug, you don't have permission to leave. You got to stay.
Pardon?
You don't have permission to leave. You have to stay.
All right.
I guess we should probably just wrap it up. Everybody got something to do, late dinner or whatever. And see everybody at the meeting next week, our June monthly meeting.
And that
Okay.
meeting is what does that meeting feature?
Well, this is our end of the year meeting. It's the images we're going to show are the best images of the year. And there's going to be one image that is the image of the year. And we'll announce awards. We can't give out the physical awards, the ribbons, the plaques, the, certificates, things like that. And it's also our elections. I wonder who's going to be president next year.
Is it still time to modify our original inputs?
Well, whether you're going to come back as vice president, Doug?
Well,
Yeah, there's still time.
okay.
Yeah. Nobody's tied down to anything.
All right.
But we know how people love to volunteer to do things in the club. Like Don says, it's going to take estimated 3 people to run a Zoom meeting and a live meeting. Well, who's going to do that,
Right.
If you're concentrating on that, you're kind of missing some of the details if you weren't doing that of what's going on in the meeting. So that's why I kind of have doubts. That and, unable to do projection, which is the best part of our meetings. So.
Okay. Well,
I see that there's a lot going on in the chat, but I really don't have a chance to read this stuff while trying to conduct a meeting. And that's why I have Al Huberty as the co-host. He kind of keeps track of that stuff. And they're supposed to do something like this for the workshops for the NSA, where somebody's got to monitor this. Everybody else is going to be muted. Questions may come in, and if the person monitoring it feels it's a good question, or if more than one asks the same question, then they might ask that question to the presenter. But with its time limit, if you answer too many questions during the meetings, during your workshop presentation, you might run short of time. So we will know how this all works out when the time comes. I would imagine there's going to be some practices. I presented some anaglyph pictures for the New York meeting. I think it was the second meeting they had, and had to do 2 practices before the meeting so it would go smooth. And then even though I was not muted, I didn't have any sound. And Jim Hart finally says, log out, come back in. And then I had sound. But I think it's going to take some actual live practices before that meeting will ever, you know, NSA meeting or NSA convention can actually happen.
Yeah.
Okay, as interesting as this is, I think I'm going to leave.
All right,
So,
Doug. Take
yeah.
care. Lee.
It was a great meeting. Thanks a lot, Rick, for doing all this.
Oh, you're welcome.
And really appreciate it. Thank you.
Lee, while I still got you on here, I wanted to ask you how those polarizing modulators worked out for you.
Yes, I have only used one of them. And I have used it at least 2 or 3 different places. At my local 2D club and here at home and so on. Very happy with it. I don't know what all the plus and minus buttons do, but I push them until it looks good and then it works well.
Yeah, well, there's buttons on there. It's either going to work or it's not going to work because it
Right.
does work for different kinds of projectors. I found that out.
Right.
I never touched the buttons on ours, but when I got a new one as a backup unit, it wasn't working at all. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? And I remembered, oh yeah, I got to try these different buttons till I, you know, get it to work, and then it works perfectly.
Yes.
So
Once you get the right buttons, it works great. I really appreciate all the help you gave me in getting those.
well, you're welcome. But now we're having trouble contacting anybody to get any more. I see Al Perry just came into the meeting, and he's in Florida. He was the one who was been recently trying to get one of those polarizing modulators, and we have not been able to get contact with anybody over in China. So the Sue Chan that we went through before doesn't answer emails. And we didn't know if it was a temporary shutdown because of the coronavirus or anything. Al, are you there? Can you got the
Yes.
phone? Any luck with getting the polarizing modulator?
Nothing.
Okay.
Al, where are you
Asking Lee Pratt
located?
about it when you popped in.
I'm sorry. What's that?
I was just
Al,
asking
where-
Lee Pratt about it when you popped into the meeting.
Oh, good timing.
Al, where are you located?
Clearwater area, Florida.
Florida, correct?
Yes, sir.
You need to get to know Stony Stone, Cecil Stone of Orlando, if you don't know.
Dennis gave me his email a couple of years ago. I sent 3, never got a reply back.
Well, he is a good 3D photographer.
Well, I talking with, damn, I forgot his name. He's over in Orlando.
Jim McManus.
Yeah. Saying, I guess Stoney has been out of touch for a while. Don't know why, but he's out of touch for what I was told.
Okay, I hear from him ever so often. How about Brad Ashbrook? Do you know him?
A little bit louder. Who?
Brad Ashbrook.
No.
He's in Florida and he knows 3D.
Yeah, I have no contact on him.
Okay. Send me a message. lee@pratt.us. I wrote it on the chat list.
Yeah, I'm at a restaurant eating dinner. I just got off work. I'll grab a pen. You write down your contact. Or aren't you on the Detroit Stereographic contact list?
I don't know. I had to ask to get someone to get to find out about this meeting tonight. I may be on it. I'd like to be on it if I can be.
Well, we have a roster.
Yeah, all right. Well, hang on. I just grabbed a pen. Go ahead. I'm ready for your email address.
Okay, Lee, L-E-E, at Pratt, Pratt.us.
Lee at
Pratt, just like my name.
Lee at
Pratt.us.
Okay. Lee, what's your phone number?
Cell phone 256-714-6212.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Well, Al, you missed all the rest of the meeting. We started at 7.
Yeah, well,
Time is 8:40.
I just got off work. I'm a liaison engineer for a bridge project we got over here. And we had many subcontractors trying to get all caught up. So my apologies. Did you record the meeting?
Yes, it's still recording too. I probably
Awesome.
should turn it
Good.
off by now.
So to get the recording, is there a link that is going to go out?
2 weeks ago, I did a recording that is on YouTube right now.
Okay.
Dennis is going to put the link in the upcoming newsletter this weekend, or I could email
Awesome.
it to you if you want.